open up with a word of prayer, and then we'll jump into looking at some passages. Lord, we just thank you for this morning, Father. We thank you as always for the privilege and the blessing, Lord, of being able to spend a little bit of time diving in and looking at your word, Lord. We're excited to get into the Hebrew this morning, to utilize the tools and the techniques that we've been studying over the past several months, to see whether or not we can find out, look at, dive in deeper, and comprehend exactly what your word has to give to us. And we're excited to, Lord, mine your word for the truths that you want us to understand and to reveal. So, Lord, we give you this time and thank you. So, now in Jesus we pray. Amen. All right, some quick review, and then we'll jump into one of our passages. Whatever passage you guys are interested in, we'll take a look at wherever you want to go. For today is just going to be about practice, utilizing the techniques and the tools that we have learned. We're not going to bother looking this morning at your Hebrew letters. I'm going to hope by this point at least you're somewhat comfortable with your Hebrew letters. We want to remind you, importantly though, about your 7 stems and your 7 types. That's the key thing we want to grasp. That's a good thing to just refresh our mind on. For our stems, talk about how a verb in Hebrew takes place. You've got 7 key ones. There are additional, but these 7 are going to be the majority of what you're going to run into. Your qual, nifal, piel, pual, hefil, hifal, hifpael. Those are your 7 key stems that you're going to find in Hebrew. They're broken down into 2 key categories, your active and your passive. What are your active stems? Kal, piel. Kal is just regular active. PL is intensive active. You have your passive, which is your nifal, which is regular passive, and pual, intensive passive. And then you have your causative. Hefil is your active causative. Hofal is your passive causative. And then you have the reflexive and the hifpael, you're doing it to yourself. So they're broken down into those 2 key categories. If you're doing the action, either regular, intensive, or causative, receiving the action, regular, intensive, causative. So your regular is going to be your kal, PL, hifil. Your reflexive is going to be your nifal, pual, hofal, and then you're doing it to yourself as a hifpael. So you have your 7 stems, talk about how the verb is taking place. Now, mind you, the stems also, as we discussed, are crucial in your interpretation because your interpretation is based upon what the stem of the verb is. So depending on your stem, your meaning can transfer, it can transition quite dramatically from one definition to another. But along with your stems, you have your types, 7 key types. You have your when, perfect or imperfect, perfect, a completed action, imperfect, and incompleted action. Remember, there's no past, present, or future tense in Hebrew. It's kind of fun. So what's perfect? Usually interpreted as past tense because the action is completed. It's already done. What's imperfect? Depends. Can be present, can be future. Either one's acceptable. How do you know? Context. You define it by its context. That's how you decide whether something is present or future tense in the imperfect. You have your cohorative and your jussive. What's a cohorative? Cohorative shows desire. It's like, I really want to do something. And we were in the book of Isaiah chapter 43 last night, and the Lord said, remember me. It's a cohorative. He really wants us to remember him. It's not something kind of lighthearted. It's a passionate statement. Please remember me. I really want you to remember me. That's a cohorative. A jussive is a command, but with permission. Let yourself do this, or do not let yourself do this. Almost always that do not be afraid in the Hebrew is a jussive. Do not let yourself be afraid. So it is a command with that nuance of having a choice. That's the jussive. Your participle is often translated as a noun or an adjective. You go back to that Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd. The word shepherd's not a noun. It is a participle. It's something that you do so often it becomes your character, your identity. We use the example of I'm not running, I'm a runner. If you are a runner, you're always running. So therefore, that's a participle. It can be translated as well, depending on the context, in the present tense because it's a constant action. It's something you're always doing. So that's the participle. The infinitive is like that English to. I'm going to the store. When? Not stating a time. It's an infinitive. It's something you're just going to be doing at some point. So So that's that infinitive. It's often translated as well as a noun, depending upon the particular context of the verb. And then your imperative, straightforward, is a command. 7 stems, how the verb is taking place. 7 types gives you additional information. It can be when, it can be talking about a desire, it can be talking about something that's a choice, a character, attribute, a constant action, whether it's a perfect, imperfect, cohortative, jussive, participle, infinitive, or imperative. It could be a command. So these are your 14 terms you really want to hold on to and remember in the Hebrew. They're going to really help you understand your verb interpretation. And as we mentioned, in Hebrew, much different from the Greek. For any time you're working from one language to another, as a reminder, you're going from English into Ilongo. You're going from Greek into English, or from Hebrew into Ilongo. Whenever you move from one language to another, there's always 2 key factors. Always are going to be 2 factors. Your 2 factors are your grammar and your vocabulary. So let me repeat that because it's good to remember. You're always checking 2 things: grammar and vocabulary. Now, vocabulary is just what's the meaning of the word. That tends not to be as important in Hebrew. It's very important in Greek. Greek, with its 5 million words, grammar's important, but vocabulary is equally huge. Hebrew is a very limited vocabulary, and so the vocabulary often doesn't give you too much insight. It tends not to be the bigger of the 2 factors. Grammar in Hebrew is big. Grammar is a major factor in Hebrew because it's so unique compared to our grammar. It's so different compared to the grammar that we tend to use. Therefore, Hebrew grammar, that's what you want to pay attention to, which is these 7 stems, 7 types. It's exactly what we're dealing with, what we're talking about. That's what we want to deal with. With that being said, let me open up by asking, what passage would you like to look at this morning? Don't all jump in at once. Any passage, you name it. As long as it's Old Testament, we can go there. Just give me an Old Testament passage. We're going to jump in. We're going to start to look at it. We'll look at the vocabulary. We'll look at the grammar. And we'll see how we can interpret it.
Try the First Chronicles pass. By the way, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. First Chronicles, what were you looking
29.
Chapter 20, verse 9?
29, verse 12.
29, verse 12. All right, here we go. As always, before we look at a particular verse, we want to look at the context around that verse. Context is king. It's going to give us a lot of information to lead us into. You'll recall last week when we were in the book of Jonah, we looked at chapter 4. To understand Jonah chapter 4, you had to go back to Jonah chapter 3 and find out why was Jonah so upset. So it sets the tone, sets the stage. So here we go, First Chronicles 29, beginning in verse 10. Let's back up to this key title. At least give us a little bit of background. Therefore, David blessed the Lord before all the assembly. David said, "Blessed are you, Lord God of Israel, our Father, forever and ever. Yours, O Lord, is the greatness, the power, the glory, the victory, the majesty. For all that is in heaven and earth is yours. Yours is the kingdom, O Lord. You were exalted as the head over all. Both riches," here's our verse, "and honor come from you. And you reign over all. In your right hand is power and might. In your hand it is to make great and to give strength to all." So there we go. Now, let's back up real quick because we want to take a peek as well to look at what the context is of what's happening overall. For there is offering of the building of the temple. So your context here is David, towards the end of his life, is preparing to build the temple. He's not allowed to build it. He's not permitted to do the work himself, but he can gather the materials for it. So David has gathered materials. He's all laid them out. Now he's singing praise to God because of the opportunity to do this work of the temple. So let's take a look. In light of that, he sings the song in our verses, First Chronicles, chapter 29, verse 12. Open it up in the Hebrew. First thing you notice, it's always fun to notice this, there's a lot more English than there is Hebrew. Let's count. just for the sake of giving our context here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. 33 words in the English. 33 words in the English. How many words are there in Hebrew? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 Hebrew words to 33 English words. That right there tells you there's something here worth looking at. For the translators are having to give you a whole lot more English just to try to tell you what's going on there in the Hebrew. You know there's a lot happening in that Hebrew because you have literally triple the amount of words to try to handle it. So right away, we know there's opportunity here. We know there's something we want to look into. And I do note that, by the way. When I open up a passage, I'm always curious to see, is there more Hebrew or more English? Almost always there's more English. How much more? If there's a lot more, you found a passage that's got something going on worth looking at for sure. Our first word, now remember how we're going to open up our Hebrew. This is a reminder, it's good to do this. As you open up your passage, Blue Letter Bible is your friend, not because it's better than any other, but because it's free. There are lots of Bible programs. This one's free. We love free. Free is my favorite price. Blue Letter Bible, you're my hero. Okay, open up your passage. Click on your tools. The moment you click on your tools in Blue Letter Bible, it defaults immediately to your interlinear tab. You have other tabs, Bibles, cross-references, commentaries, those are all available to you, but it defaults to the interlinear, which is your two languages. Interlinear just means two translations. You have both the English and beside it, the Hebrew. So there's your two translations. That's why it's interlinear. You've got two different Bibles open in front of you, or two languages of the same passage. Still counts as interlinear. Your Hebrew is on top. If you want to, you're welcome to work up here. I do tend to work up here. The more comfortable you are with looking at Hebrew practice, the more you're going to be able to utilize this top line, and it will move you through the text faster. But if you're not comfortable with the top line, you can just go down here where they're side by side to English, and it's all there for us as well. And when you hover over a word here, notice the moment I hover over a word here, it highlights it up on top. Same thing. So if I highlight it here, notice that my word up on the top becomes yellow. So we know where this word is in my Hebrew sentence. So this word, both riches, is right there at my first word. What is the word? Let's take a look. It's the Hebrew word osar. For you have the ayin, you have the defective holem, you have the shin, you have the sere, and you have the resh, which is the word oser. Should be the sh, osher, because it's a shin. So osher, what does it mean? Let's take a look. H2623. Click on your Strong's number, and that gives your definition. As you'll recall, there are two key things you are always looking at in original languages: vocabulary, grammar. Back up real quick here. Your vocabulary is always your Strong's number. Your grammar is your parsing. So both keys are always right in front of you in your interlinear. Your Strong's is your vocabulary. Your parsing is your grammar. Both are there in front of you to click on. Let's start with vocabulary. What is our word? Osher. Click on it. Bunch of information given to us. You can have it pronounced for you.
Strong's H6239. Osher. Osher.
Yay, there we go. Thank you, Pastor Justin, for that. You're told it's root word. That is interesting because remember, never forget, every Hebrew noun must come from a Hebrew verb. That's a rule. Every time you see a noun in Hebrew, there's a verb underneath it. There's a root word that's always a verb. So just know that if you're ever curious on the meaning of a noun, you can click on that root word and it'll give you more information. We do that. We click on what's the root verb? To become rich or wealthy. So that is the verb that is translated in the noun, to be rich or wealthy. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. So, okay, we're talking about rich and wealthiness, used 37 times in the Old Testament, always translated with one exception as riches. There's one time it's translated far, so it does have one exception. But more or less, riches and wealth, it's pretty straightforward as its definition. So, okay, riches. Is there any parsing we want to note here? Let's take a look. Well, it's interesting. There is something to note here. Click on our parsing, or click on our word up on our Hebrew up on top. Either one will open up the parsing window for you. Notice a little pop-up window comes up here on my right. It says Hebrew parsing. It gives me a couple things. Okay, you have 3 tabs, because although the word there, osher, is there, you have va, ha, osher. The va and the ha are interesting because the va is a conjunction. Remember that we talked about the vav is a conjunction. What conjunction is it? Depends on the context. It can be and, it can be it can be that, it can be but, it can be then. Just depends on the context. In this case, it would seem that they're translating it and. So both riches and honor. So this is the continuation of the previous verse. You were exalted as head over all, and both riches and honor come from you. So that vav disconnects it to the previous verse. But the ha is interesting. That's worth noting. So slow down for a minute, because this is a bit of a reminder. Remember that Hebrew bakes into its nouns both conjunctions, prepositions, and articles. This is called, by the way, the inseparable preposition, or the inseparable article in this case. So what is our article here? It's the. So this isn't just some riches. This isn't a random riches. It's not talking in general. No, the riches. The riches of what? Well, presumably we're talking about everything, heaven, glory, eternity. All the riches, all the wealth of the world, it's all the Lord. The riches come from him. Not 1,000 pesos, not 1,000,000 pesos, not 1,000,000,000 pesos. No, the riches of heaven. The riches of all that God is, they only come from him. For it's the riches, Desan naman, your next word, and honor. Interesting. Let's take a look at honor. An interesting word, by the way, one that you see very frequently. It's very common in the Hebrew. It's the word kabod. You have the kaf, you have the comets, you have the bet without the dagash lene, so it's pronounced as a V. You have the full, the complete there, O sound. So it's not the defective. It's the complete one. And then you have the dalet, so kabod. So kabod, kavod, better interpreted, kavod, means glory, honor, abundance, splendor, reputation, reverence. All kind of has the same thing. It's most often, very common word 200 times in the Hebrew Bible. Most often interpreted as glory, occasionally honor, 10 times glorious, 1 times gloriously, and 1 times honorable. So it's primarily speaking of glory. Interesting what it comes from. Let me show you this, because I find this fascinating, because every Hebrew noun comes from a Hebrew verb. What Hebrew verb does it come from? Notice, kabad, meaning to be heavy or to be weighty. How does that mean glorious? Well, if something is glorious, it's not to be taken lightly. It's an issue of weight. It's an issue of importance. It's an issue that should be taken seriously, not to be taken lightly. Get the idea? So that's where the idea of kabod, glory, means it's heavy, it's weighty, it's important. So go back to our particular text here. And all riches, the riches, and glory, what's weighty, what's important. Wait a second, let's look at our parsing, because our parsing has an identical construction as our previous noun. Notice you have the vav. So it's a conjunction that presumably is going to be and, because it's bringing 2 things together. It's riches and glory. Pretty straightforward. But it also has the ha, which is our article. So it's not just talking about generic glory. No, this is the glory. So all of the riches, all of the glory, the weighty things, the important things come from you. Now, this word come from you is interesting, because the grammar here is what is going to tell us everything. This is where there's a whole lot more English than there's going to be Hebrew, because the Hebrew word's doing a lot of the lifting here for a bunch of English words. Let's take a look. Notice our word come doesn't have a Hebrew equivalent. Do you see that? You have the word come, pull this over as you can see it. The word come is on our left, but there's nothing in the Hebrew. Whoops. Why is that? Because it turns out the word you, this word that's translated here as of thee, is doing all of the lifting for a whole lot of the English here. Let's take a look first of all at what that word is. It's the word, by the way, panim. A very, very common word. You have the pe, kametz, you have the nun, you have the hirik yod, and you have the mim, the m. And it's panim. Let's take a look at it, 6440. It means before, face, presence, because, sight, countenance. It's got quite a bit of interpretation to it, by the way. Most often, what the actual meaning of the word is the face. That's interesting. So the word itself, catch this, because we're going to build on this. This is one of those little Hebrew nuances that's worth noticing. The word itself just means face. Ulo, chora. What's you're looking at? What's in front of you? Your face. Okay, what you look with. So it's face, but notice the grammar in the grammars. What gets interesting, there's a whole lot of additions to this. This is where there's a lot of lifting in the Hebrew that translates in a whole lot of English words. Okay. First of all, you have a preposition. The preposition is the mem. What is the mem in preposition? Let me open this up for you because this is actually quite fascinating. When we're talking about Hebrew, in prepositions, there is, we'll bring it up to you. Where's our name? So fundamentally, the meme, it carries the idea with me or before me. So it's going to be in the presence of. With is probably the most common interpretation of it. So it carries the idea of in my presence, before my face, in front of my face. That's that preposition mem. Then you have this preposition la. So before, the lamed is the to. So before, to, then you have that noun face, and then you have the pronominal suffix, second person masculine singular, second person you, masculine boy, singular one. So before your face. So that one word in Hebrew is where you get the whole statement in English, come before you. The whole come before you, all three of those words is from that one word in Hebrew. But literally, I think this is powerful. It's not just come before you, it's to come. That's the preposition there, the mem, before, lamed, face, and then you have that ka, pronominal second person, yours. I'm coming before your face. All riches, all honor, more importantly, all of the riches, all of the honor is coming before your face. Stop. What is the most important thing in life? This is what David's talking about. He's building the temple. He's bringing all the materials so the son Solomon can actually do the construction. He's got gold. He's got silver. Lots of gold. Lots of silver. Lots of cedar. Lots of bronze. I mean, monetarily wise, you're talking billions upon billions of pesos. It's an unspeakable. It's a ransom. It's a king's ransom sum. I mean, it's the GDP of nations that he's got in front of him to build the temple. But all of this wealth that he's looking at, he goes, nothing. What are the riches? What's the weighty thing? What has the most weight in life? What's the most important thing? Coming before your face. To come before the Lord. It's not the building. It's not the materials. It's the God we want to recognize. It's the God we want to know. Do you see the weight of what he's saying? See where he's going here? He's not emphasizing the value of what he's putting together. He's emphasizing the weight and the value of the God he's doing it for. It's not the building. It's the Lord. You look at, I'll pull this through some illustration application. You look at the way some buildings are constructed for churches. I'll pick on the Mormons. Why would I pick on Mormons? Well, let's be honest, they're fun to pick on. They built this temple over there on Circumferential. Rumors are abounding that thing was in the billions to build. Not millions, billions to build that thing. Extravagant money thrown at putting up this building. Why? It's not about the building. I don't care if you put trillions into it. It's not about the building. The building's not what matters. It's the God you're doing it for. What is riches? The riches. What is the honor? What's weighty? What matters most is coming before his face. And the building doesn't do that for you. And David's recognizing it. He's understanding that. He knows where the weight is. So that first three words right there, already, have a whole Bible study just in those first three words. Not the building, it's the God of the building. But he goes on. Vata. Okay, that's a really, really common conjunction. It's a very common phrase that you see in the Hebrew. You'll come across this quite frequently. The whole phrase, it is a phrase. It's not just a word, it's a phrase. Vata. What does vata mean? Let's come down here. Okay. You have and thou. Nice that we're using the King James here. And you. We would just use the regular. So come before you and you. So he's continuing the thought. What is that word you? Okay. H 859. It is the word ata. How do we know it's ata? Because you have the aleph, you have the pata, you have the tau with the dagesh lene, so it's a strong T, not a TH sound, it's a ta. You have the comets, and then you have the ha, so ata. Okay? What does it mean? You. Pretty straightforward. Not too hard to figure that out. It just means you. Second person, singular, masculine, you. Okay? But notice our grammar. You do have the vav built into it because it's va'ata. That vav is your conjunction and or but or then. Which one is it? Context. David seems to be continuing the thought, so I think it's well translated. And you, both the riches and the honor come before your face. It's in coming before your face. That's where the riches and the honor come from. And you, here we go. What does you do? What does God do? He reigns. This word reign is the word mashal. Okay, you have the mem, comets, shin, pata, lamed, mashal, 4910. Okay, mashal means what? To rule 81 times. There in the Hebrew Bible, it means to rule, reign, have dominion, rule over, govern, power. So it all has the same idea. Fundamentally, it means to rule. It does have a kal and a hefil. The kal is to rule. The hefil would be to cause someone to rule. Our particular instance, let's take a look at our grammar. We are a kal, participle, masculine, singular, absolute. So we're a kal participle. Kal, simple action. Participle, ongoing or continual action. We could actually even say, you were the ruler. That would be a fine translation of that, by the way. They translate it, you reign over all. That's good. You are the ruler over all. Equally is good. Doesn't make a difference. Either translation would fit well in the context. Remember, a participle either is an ongoing action or it can even be used as a noun. Go back to Psalm 23 and shepherd. Because you're always doing it, it becomes your identity. So he's either the one who's reigning continually or he is just the ruler. He's the one who does reign. Either interpretation's fine. You can take your pick. There's not a bad one in that. Both carry the same idea. He reigns where? Where does God reign? Well, we're told. Look at our next word. Overall. Okay? That word overall, again, is a bit of a Hebrew action. There's one word in Hebrew that's taking up two words in English. That's why we have 33 English words to just 13 Hebrew words. Let's do our vocabulary first. H3605. It is the word kol. Interesting. You have the kaf, you have the defective holum, and then you have the lamed. The kaf does have the dagesh lene, so it's a hard K sound. It's not CH, it's kol, kol. Click on it. And we find out it means all, whole, everything, anything. So it just kind of carries the whole idea of everything, all the things. So what is God ruling over? Well, he rules over all. The interesting thing is the word over. Let's look at this real quick because we've seen our vocabulary. Let's look at our grammar. As we look at our grammar over this word all, we find that it does have added to it a preposition. The preposition is the bet. It's the inseparable preposition bet. What does bet mean? Well, bet can mean in. Go back to Genesis 1:1, Berashit, in the beginning. Or it can mean on. In this case, it carries that idea of on, all, or over all. That's what gives that word over, is that bet, is that preposition. So God is the ruler. He's the one who reigns always over everything. Well, that's pretty dramatic, by the way. So what does God reign over? All of it. All of what? You name it. Heaven. Yep. Earth. Yep. Hell. Yep. Reigns over all. All is all. There's nothing lacking there. He is the ruler at all times over everything, which is why all of the riches and all of the glory are coming before him. He owns it all anyways. He's the ruler over it all. You can sit there and we can say, well, this is mine. No, it's not. But I own it. No, you don't. Why not? Because it's all the Lord's. He's the one who rules over, reigns over all. It's all his. That's why all the riches and all the honor, what's weighty in life, all comes from him. Okay? Reigns over all. Okay? We have another vav. By the way, I want you to see this. This is the third vav, fourth really, but third vav connector that we have in our sentence. For you had the first vav there with the riches. You had that ba, he, osher. So, and connecting the previous verse. Riches and honor. You did have a vav as well before honor, but it's just putting those two words together. Riches and honor being the two things. Okay? Come before his face. It's coming before his face. And he is the ruler over all. And you have a third thought. David's building. He's building his argument who the Lord is. He's building his argument why God deserves praise. Because you have another vav. For notice, the is has no equivalent in the Hebrew. That's an English thing, English grammar. It's not in the Hebrew. It's not there. The next word is the power. Okay? That word power is the word koch. Koch. Okay, you have the cough, you have the defective holum, and then you have the pata, and then you have the cha. So koch. 3581. Take a look. What does it mean? It is a noun that means strength, power, might, force, ability, able. Can also be randomly translated as chameleon fruits. It's got some oddballs in there, but the vast majority, the 126 times, come in the idea of strength, power, might, force, or ability. So that is its main idea. Okay, so he has power. Okay, power, let's look at our grammar. It is just simply a noun. So there's nothing really added to it. Power and might. Here's our next word. So power and might. Funny how that works. English is a little different than Hebrew there. Power and might. What is the word might? Okay. It is the word, a fun one. Gov, ora, gubura, guvura. Fun one to pronounce. You have the gimel, you have the shoah, you have the bet without any dagesh lane, so it's a V sound. You have the surik, you have the resh, you have the comets, and you have the ha. Let's take a look. H. (1369). It's a noun. It means might, strength, power. Interesting, by the way, because you might sit there and go, wait a minute. This word, gebura, means might, strength, power. We'll go back to How about the previous word, ko'ah? Also means strength, power, might. Why two different words with almost identical meanings? Worthy question. Why are we using redundant words? Let's look again at Gebura. Notice that we do have a root word. Might be worth to check that out. Just again means strong or mighty, valiant. So there's a nuance here. One that, by the way, I would encourage further depth into. You could dig into deeper. What's the nuance between these words? Let me show you a way to do this. It's kind of a fun thing. I'm going to give you a little bit of a deeper dive, what I would do. Let me show you how I would handle this because I'm curious. Even I'm curious. Those words seem like they're synonyms, almost identical. So why put them side by side? Is there an amplification or an addition that could go there? The way you could check that out if you wanted to, and this is exactly what I would do if I'm doing this Bible study, I would sit there and go, interesting. I have this word, just copy paste, Gebura, but I also have this word, ko'ah, okay? Why? What is the nuance? These synonyms. I can go into something like ChatGPT or you can use Gemini. That's where they're really good for doing some original language research. What's the difference? What's the nuance between these synonyms? And they'll sit there and they'll chew on it. So we'll give it a second. While it's thinking, we'll go back to our text. It'll take it probably a couple minutes. So go in there. Let's look at our grammar for this word Gebura, just to see what it's got for us, because we are dealing with a noun again. Again, not much there other than to say it does have the conjunction. We would say and, the vav is there. So it's might and power. Okay, might and power. We got our nuance yet? Nope, still working on it. All right, let's go on to our next word. Where is might and power? Well, in your hand. And again, this is where a whole lot is happening in English. There's just a single word in Hebrew. For notice, there's 4 words in English. And in your hand, okay, is just one word in Hebrew. What's the word? It's the word yad. You have the yod, comments, and you have the delete, yad. Let's take a look at it. H3027. What does the word yad mean? Pretty straightforward. Hand, by. Okay, the hand is actually what's most often, and it's got a couple of the rare ones that are there, but of the 1,615 times that word is used, that is a lot, by the way. That is exceptional. That's going to most used words in the Old Testament. Most of them are just simply translated hand. So the idea is hand. But notice our grammar is where there's a lot of work. There is 4 different aspects to this one word. For you have the conjunction and, you have the preposition bet. It's the inseparable preposition. It's connected to the noun hand. The bet means in. Okay, then you have the word hand, and then you have the pronominal suffix, second person masculine singular, your. So, and in your hand is just baked into that one Hebrew word. So just know there's a lot going on there, but it just means and in your hand. What's in his hand? Might and power. For notice that it's just reversed in the Hebrew. It's just hand, might, and power, but in the English, but powers in and might are in your hand. It's just inverted in the way they order the sentences. That's just Hebrew grammar. But power and might are in your hand. Let's go back. Here we go. We've got our breakdown. Okay, both Gebura and Koha can be translated as strength, might, and power, but their emphasis is somewhat different. Here's our nuance. So what I'm saying, when you have 2 words together like this, 2 synonyms back to back, they're not accidental. There's intention in it. What's the intention? The word Koha carries the idea of a broader strength, power, the resources someone possesses, their capacity to accomplish something, their physical strength, their ability to produce military might. It's the idea of that word Koha. Whereas the word Gebura demonstrates your victory. It means that you are superior, you are prevailing. So you are the one who is victorious. You have valor, heroic, mastery, victory. You've done great things. So one is the potential, the other one is the result, we might say. So go back to both the ability to do something, Koha, and the one who's done it, Gebura, are in your hand. Do you see how it works? that catching that nuance of that synonym really opens up that statement. David's going, you're not just the one who has the ability, you're the one who has the might and has done it. You have the Koha and the Gebura. Both are in your hand. So not only, go back to our statement, is it all riches and all glory, all that is weighty coming into your presence. Not only are you the one who continually and constantly reigns over everything, everywhere. You are the king over all. But all potential power and all visible victory. Everything is in your hand. It's quite a statement. Still very good. It is, here we go, moves on. The word it is not in Hebrew. That's an English edition. It speaks of the fact there's a whole lot that's going on there in the Hebrew that just covers for it. Our next word in Hebrew is actually this word to make great. Okay, what's our word to make great? It is the verb gadal. You have the gimel, kametz, dalit, patah, lamed, gadal. It's H1431. Let's click on our vocabulary. And we have this word gadal. It means to magnify, make great, to grow, nourish, grow up, greater. 115 times, pretty common word in the Hebrew. Carries the simple idea of, depending upon your stem, to grow up, to cause to grow up, to be brought up, to make great, depending on what your stem is. What's our stem? It's a verb. Let's take a look. Click on our grammar. We are a PL. Ooh, that's interesting. We are a PL infinitive. That's fascinating. Why is that fascinating? Well, first of all, you've got the preposition beforehand, to make great. That preposition lamed is to two. That's how you would interpret that, to make great. So what does that mean? If it's a PL, it's intensive. You make things really great. Not just great, really great. And emphasize that. Put that strong tonation in there. Really amazing. You're the God that makes things absolutely incredible. Okay? How does he make things great? By giving strength, okay, to all. Let's take a look at this. This to give strength, again, 4 words. You make things really great, and you give strength to all. That give strength is the word hazak. Okay, you have the chet, chametz, zayin, patah, qaf. Chazak. Okay, H2388. It means to strengthen, strong, hold, to strengthen. It means to harden, prevail, encourage. Mind you, depends on your particular stem because you have under the kal to be strong, grow strong, under the PL to make strong, to restore to strength, the hifil to make strong, strengthen, to make firm, hithpael. There's lots of opportunities here. Let's take a look. What's our grammar? We are at the vav and preposition to, and then the verb PL. Let's go back to our vocabulary. Under the PL, to make strong, to restore, to strengthen, to make bold, to make firm. Okay, so what is the interpretation here? Well, take a look at it. You embolden us. You make us strong, really strong. PL, really strong. So you are really great. And you make us really strong. Who? Who does he make strong? Well, notice I got the pusan. To all. We have the same word again. We saw this before. It's not kol. It's that kaf, defective holam lamed, kol, which means all. And in our context, we have the preposition, lamed. It's the inseparable preposition, to all. Let's go back and look at it. Now let's interpret our whole statement, whole sentence. Okay? Both, David praying to the Lord, our context, he's got all these materials, crazy, insane amounts of wealth. That's an important thing to distinguish. He's got just oodles of gold and silver and bronze and precious materials like you'd never imagine. Probably a wealth like it's been rarely ever collected in human history, ready to build this temple. But as he's praising God over it, he says, no, the riches, the honor, what is weighty is coming before your face. Why? Because you are the one who is the ruler over all. You reign over everything, everywhere. And from your hand, in your hand, is the ability and the one who does, has the power and the might to do whatever you want. Okay, you have the power, you have the might, it's in your hand. You are the one who makes me great. You make us great. You give us strength to all who come to us exceedingly, abundantly. It's the PL. You make us really great and really strong. Therefore, it's all about coming to you, not the building. Therefore, it's all about knowing the Lord, not the structure. Do you see what his emphasis is? Do you see where he's going? He's really talking about having that connection to God. The building's not that important. The money's not what it's after. It's after the God that he wants to honor through the building. So, pretty cool passage. 1 Chronicles 29:12. Questions on that one? Did you see it? Did you understand it? Were you able to follow that?
Yes, Pastor. Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, Pastor Dave. It really makes the interpretation much deeper.
Again, take a single verse. Point being, we're going to jump to another verse. Take a single verse. You can jump into it. And what do we take now? 40 minutes in a single verse?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be 2 hours for us.
It not something you do quickly. And you wouldn't want to do it quickly. We're not in a rush. This is not a speed test. This is not how quickly can we get the study done. The whole idea, if we want to get into the original languages, we're trying to slow down and we want to get into the depth of it. What I want you to see and grasp is the tools that you have. You've got the tools.
Yeah.
You're going to get more comfortable the more you use them.
Mm-hmm.
But that will allow you to do just this. You start going in, look at my vocabulary, look at my grammar, look at it in the context, and you begin to break it down and you go, wow. Because if you first read that, you might sit there. Here's the danger. Both riches and honor come from you. Oh, yes. Man, if I come to the Lord, he'll make me rich and make me honorable. That's not what he's saying. That is not at all what he's saying. He's not saying riches come from you. No, the riches are you. The honor is you. It's not the building. There's our context, and that's what he's stating, and that's where you can get a whole lot of trouble if you're not careful. The grammar pulls that out. No, the riches, the honor are coming before your face. That's what I'm after. Why? Because you're the ruler over all. You're the one who has all the strength in your hand, all the power in your hands. And anyone who comes to you, you make great, you make strong. Oh, there it is. It's about being bold, powerful for the Lord, not getting rich by the Lord. The riches are the Lord. And that's what the Hebrew pulls out for you very clearly. And where we can miss it, if we're just doing a cursory reading, if we don't dig into it, we might miss what the real passage is saying to us.
Question, Pastor Dave.
Yes.
You mentioned that every noun has a root word, which is a verb.
Almost without exception, though, you just saw two. I saw them pop up like two. You're going, well, hand doesn't have a noun. There are some rare exceptions, but it's very rare.
It says primitive word, or sometimes it says unused root. Yeah. What does that mean?
If it's an unused root, it means it's not something that ever appears in the Bible, so it's not used in the Bible. Doesn't mean there isn't a root. It's just meaning there's a root. So that's why if you pick a typical verb, take a typical verb you want. So we'll go to the word rains, okay? If you go to the word rains, that's a verb. So if I click on that word, notice it's saying it's a primitive root. If you see primitive root, it means you can't go any deeper. Primitive root means you're as deep as you go. There's nothing beneath this. This is as low as you can go. There are things that are built off of it, but nothing underneath it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You're at the very bottom level of what your etymology can be. You cannot go any deeper than this. It is a root word. Like I would say in English, what's a good root word in English? A root word might be eat. Eat is a root word. From eat could come eating or eater or eatery. Okay, those are all words that can come from it, but the root word, the primitive root, if you will, is the word eat. It's your fundamental. That's the word it's all based upon. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you've got a verb masal,
Wait.
that's the primitive root. That's the base word. So nothing else doesn't come from anything. It's just the root. That's what everything comes out of. Get the idea. If you have a tree grows from the root, right? Grows out of the roots. You get a trunk, you get branches, you get leaves come out of the root. But the root, that's what it's all built out of. It comes from the root. That's what a root word is. A primitive root is, that's the very base foundation of the word.
And how does it differ from unused root?
If you have an unused root, then where did you see that one? Let's take a look at it.
I forgot which word.
Let's take a peek here. Primitive roots, the word gedal. Strength, primitive root. Or unused root right there.
One. Or unused root, meaning to be firm.
So what they're saying by unused root, meaning that, okay, mind you, what is this? Is this a verb or a noun?
It says noun.
It says noun. What do almost always nouns come from? There are rare exceptions like hand. We saw hand was a noun. It doesn't have a verb as a root. But almost always nouns come from verbs. So if this is a noun, it comes from a verb. When it says an unused root, it means that the root word this comes from is not used in the Bible. So by an unused root, it can't give you any connection to it. It can't give you a Strong's number to click on because it's not in the Old Testament. So it's saying it's there. It does come from a root, but it's not a root that's used in the Bible. So then it just gives you the meaning of that root. It means to be firm. So that's that idea of an unused root. It's saying there is a root to this word. It's not a primitive root itself. It does have a root word, but it's not one that's ever used in the Old Testament, so there's no Strong's number for it.
Okay.
Because you only have a Strong's number for words that are actually used in the Hebrew Bible.
But it's still safe to use firm as part of your interpretation, even if it's not.
You could,
in
yes.
the Bible.
Because it's still coming from that. If you wanted to dig deeper into it, again, if you want to do, this is why I know AI is a mixed blessing, and you do need to be careful with it because it can hallucinate and it can be goofy. But linguistics is often one of those areas where it's black and white. Linguistics is driven by very strict guidelines and rules, and that's where AI tends to excel. You don't want to ask AI for interpretation, that gets sketchy. But you want to ask it for, hey, can you give me the meaning of the root of this word? Yeah, that's a fun one to push through AI and see what it comes out with. Because that word to be firm is going to be a very generic interpretation that's given to you of the root word that goa comes from. You could do some more research if you were curious. What is the actual root word in Hebrew that it comes out of? And what is the meaning of it? If you were curious to do that kind of a search, and it would be a worthwhile one to look into. Now, as again, I showed you, and I can give you that example. Go back to dealing with two synonyms. When you have identical words in the Hebrew that are side by side, why did you just repeat yourself? Why did you use two different words that essentially, if I look at my Strong's, have almost identical meanings? There's going to be a nuance there. There's something missing that is deeper why they put these words side by side. An example being with that word Gibah versus Goah. There's a nuance to them. They're not the same. They do have a slight variation that builds on one another, which is kind of fun to get into. And that's where a little AI original Hebrew search can be a real helpful little tool. Go beyond your Strong's definitions. Back in the day, the way you would have handled that, you'd have to have pulled up a Hebrew dictionary, and man, it'd taken you some time. Could have still done it, but taking you some time. It's where the tools we have make it quicker and easier to be able to do some of this original language research.